In this video, I'm going to talk about the biggest mistake that students make when it comes to extracurricular activities. And I have a couple of short stories to kind of illustrate the point, but the goal here is to teach some of these young students who watch my videos to kind of improve their grades, their school performance, and even getting into a good university and beyond that in the college and career. So oftentimes, and you'll get this if you just kind of open up your ears, you'll hear this whole idea or rumor that you need to have extracurricular activities on your resume if you want to reach and get accepted into those top universities, because they don't just care about academic performance and your GPA, but also that you're doing extracurricular activities on the side and crushing it and really showing a certain passion or purpose, or extra flavor or dimension to you as a person, whether that's building your social intelligence or contribution or some unique thing where you're really growing your skill sets. Now, while this is good in theory, I want to talk about the mistake that I made around that. So, and I guess I'll illustrate with a story. So when I had heard about that and I had this idea, I came up with this unique idea, original, to join not one, not two, but several different clubs at my high school. Now, my high school had dozens, probably over 100 different clubs. And I knew based off, observation and so forth, that a lot of them were pretty casual. Like some people would join and they may not show up again for 6 months. And sometimes the clubs were super casual to begin with. There may only be one meeting every 3 months, and that would be the computer science club, or that would be the table tennis club. And there were more serious clubs out there. For example, math team, and I think there was an Olympiad team, and there was a kind of engineering team where they battled robots. Those took it seriously, where they would meet at least once a week, if not more, and do some serious practice. However, a lot of these clubs were fairly casual, and even math team, I would say, is fairly casual. Like, they didn't really teach; they really just kind of gave us a problem at the front, and then we would try and solve it. And sometimes they would explain how to solve it. Sometimes they'd just be like, "Okay, have a good day. See you at the meet." But essentially, that's what I did. I joined a bunch of these clubs, and it was kind of like a mutual thing. The club itself, the presidents and so forth, didn't really meet that often, and then I didn't end up going to a lot of the meetings as much, except for like a couple where I ended up auditioning for senior roles and getting kind of in terms of the kind of club leadership. In those, I ended up trying to attend every single meeting. But essentially, the long and short of it is that I ended up in a situation where I had like 20, 30, maybe even over 30 clubs on my bill, on my application, and I'd been to all these club meetings, but just not often, and it had almost zero effect in my application process. Like, no one really brought it up, no one really made any difference. And the issue is that people don't really care about the breadth, they care about the depth. So first off, that idea is not unique. A lot of people do that, and college admissions officers see that. The other thing is, when I spread myself so thin, sometimes you kind of lose the passion, or you're just not really enjoying it as much as someone who's picked out a good 2 or 3 or 4 clubs, or maybe just one club where they really like what they do. Maybe that's robotics club, and they really learned a lot about engineering and programming and built these battle bots to battle each other during the annual competition. Now that, in a way, is a lot more valuable, because you have that specific detailed story, those specific tangible things that you learned. Oh, I learned this programming language. I was able to do this with the programming language, rather than just saying you were an attendee at a meeting. Now, even with these kind of more leadership roles for certain clubs that I was a part of, I was the vice president for Future Business Leaders of America, and also the Asian Student Union. And at the time, it was definitely more so to have something on my resume, but which is ironic now because now I'm really, really into business and all that stuff. But back then, I was more so into science and med school. But it's ironic how that change happened. But the point is that with these two clubs, yes, that leadership position definitely will have more value, but ultimately, it still didn't have much tangible value because at the end of the day, what does that really mean? And if you just put the title and you don't really describe what you did or what you really contributed to, they lack a lot of that story, and a lot of them will just kind of see it as you just put something else on your resume or your application. And so that was unfortunately true. I discovered, and it was a great learning lesson, that sure, you have a leadership role, but in such a free-form organization such as this, if you're not proactive and you don't actually go out of your way to contribute and so forth, and just keep waiting for, maybe the head of the organization or the club to say, hey, let's do something, then nothing really happens. Events don't happen, activities don't happen, no ideas really come out of it. And, part of it, unfortunately, was the entire dynamic. A lot of the attendees probably had some similar mindset because a lot of them stopped attending after the first meeting. And so some of it's dependent on the culture at your school. I mean, I definitely know when we went to the Future Business Leaders of America regional and national competitions, even the local competitions where we would see the other schools, some schools took it much more seriously. I remember this one school that was kind of our rival school, and everyone showed up in suits, and they all had the same type of suit, same type of tie. They took it seriously. And so, part of that comes from your own impetus as a leader to kind of create a vision and show it out. So, long story short, you got to try that out. You got to double down on depth rather than breadth. And what matters more is not just what you show others and perceive to others, but your own personal fulfillment, your own personal growth and adventure and learnings from that. What are you actually gaining from that? Because in a lot of ways, if it's just attending stuff, oftentimes you don't gain as much. It's almost empty. And so the times where I did gain a lot were when I went to those those outings, flying to Atlanta for the national competition, or doing other stuff to really kind of grow yourself and blow up to a larger extent. And so crazy world and crazy adventures, but you live and you learn. And so I would definitely encourage you to definitely try out a bunch initially, because you never know what your passions are, but then after that, double down on that one or two or three and learn something. So thanks for watching. See you later. Like and subscribe.